Picture this: Brené Brown in a bright conference room, eyes locked on a group of senior leaders at a Fortune 50 company. She asks, "What if the toughest conversations you're avoiding could unlock your team's greatest potential?" The room tightens. Silence. No one wants to say the obvious, that leadership isn't about being perfect. It's about daring to be brave enough to be vulnerable. But what does that vulnerability actually look like in boardrooms and break rooms? And why does courage feel so damn rare when it's exactly what we need most? Brené's about to show us how to lean in and lead with our whole hearts. Most of us equate vulnerability with weakness. Brené flips that script, revealing vulnerability as the backbone of courageous leadership. But it's terrifying to admit that out loud. At a steel manufacturing plant in Pittsburgh, Brené invited a team of executives to share their biggest leadership fears. CEO Mark admitted he feared making the wrong call that ruined his team's progress. The room cracked. Leaders revealed their own hidden doubts. That rare honesty wasn't weakness, but the key that unlocked collective courage, and a surprising shift in how decisions were made going forward. Think of vulnerability like going to the gym, but for your emotions. Just as lifting weights builds physical strength, leaning into uncertainty and discomfort builds your courage, muscle. It's best done in reps, small acts of honesty that make the next tough conversation easier and your leadership steadier. Here's the kicker: courage doesn't diminish when leaders show vulnerability. It multiplies. When Brené's participants started naming their fears together, their shared bravery created a culture where tough issues got tackled head-on, sparking innovation and trust that no directive or power move ever could. We love magic formulas and perfect plans, but Brené's research with change makers reveals that daring leadership is less about having all the answers and more about wrestling with messy reality and leaning into discomfort. In a San Francisco startup, CEO Jenna faced a product meltdown just before launch. Instead of pretending to have all the answers, she gathered her team and said, "I don't know the fix yet, but let's find it together." By creating space for messy conversation, the team not only salvaged the launch but discovered an unexpected market need. Leadership here is like being a detective, constantly asking sharper, more curious questions instead of delivering proclamations. The phrase, "I don't know," becomes a superpower. It invites collaboration, unearths blind spots, and sparks fresh ideas. Brené calls this the art of daring inquiry. And the payoff: when leaders embrace imperfection and experiment with heart, their entire culture shifts from fear of failure to hunger for learning. It's messy, uncomfortable work, but it births resilience, innovation, and a deeper sense of shared purpose. We often dilute truth to be nice, but Brené's breakthrough is brutal and freeing. Clarity, even when uncomfortable, is the ultimate kindness in leadership. Ruth, a nonprofit director, dreaded giving critical feedback to a longtime volunteer. She feared hurting feelings and losing support. Inspired by Brené's work, she chose clarity over comfort, honestly describing missed goals and needed changes. To her surprise, the volunteer responded with gratitude and doubled down on improvement, proof that clear communication can deepen relationships, not damage them. Think of clarity like sunlight through muddy water. It's uncomfortable because it reveals what's hidden, but it's the only way for anything to grow healthy. Being vague creates confusion and resentment, while clear expectations and candid conversations set boundaries that actually nurture trust. Feedback done well is an act of respect. It tells people you believe in their capacity to improve. Brené's research shows that organizations that embed this principle have lower turnover and more engaged teams, because people know exactly where they stand and how to flourish. Trust is often seen as magic or luck. Brené gives us the secret sauce, the braving acronym, a checklist that breaks down how trust actually works, one behavior at a time. In her research with leaders globally, Brené found trust breaks down in everyday moments. She created Braving, a 7-part framework: boundaries, reliability, accountability, vault, integrity, non-judgment, and generosity, to pinpoint exactly what builds or breaks trust. At a tech giant, using Braving helped a fractured team rebuild their working relationships from scratch, one clear behavior at a time. Imagine trust as a rope made of many tiny threads. Each Braving element is a strand. Keep a boundary, do what you say, own your mistakes. Over time, the rope gets stronger. Neglect one thread and the rope frays. This metaphor makes trust less mystical and more actionable for leaders. By naming Braving, leaders learn to catch and repair small breaks before they become deal breakers. The payoff: teams that can depend on each other through crises, innovate faster, and share power more freely. Trust isn't a vague feeling. It's a practical muscle you can train. Leadership isn't a solo act. It's the culture you help create. Brené shows how daring leaders build environments that prize brave conversations and shared power over hierarchy and fear. In her work with global organizations, Brené witnessed a striking pattern. Cultures rooted in scarcity and fear kept people frozen, pretending to have answers. The transformative moment comes when leaders explicitly choose courage over comfort, asking real questions and encouraging risk-taking, unlocking creativity and commitment at every level. Brené flips the traditional view of power as limited and hoarded. Instead, power is like light. When you share it, it spreads and grows. Leaders who align authority with accountability invite more voices to the table and catalyze impact far beyond their own reach. And maybe the most surprising leadership muscle: empathy. In a world of automation and AI, what humans do best is connect, understand, and care. Brené challenges you to lead by weaving empathy into every decision. It builds trust, fuels innovation, and makes your whole team stronger. Remember Brené's steel plant executives staring their fears down. That honest, open moment wasn't just for show, it was the spark of daring leadership in action. When you lean into vulnerability instead of pushing it away, you open doors to trust, innovation, and real connection. So here's your try this. Next time you face a tough conversation, skip the script. Admit what you don't know, share what you're afraid of, and ask bold questions. It's messy. It's brave. And it's exactly the kind of leadership the world starved for. Subscribe for more book summaries like this one.